Majulah Singapura.
Hello, good afternoon everyone, residents of East Coast and everyone tuning in at our e-rally session this afternoon. I hope you have enjoyed the video that we presented to you from the East Coast GRC team made up of DPM Heng, Swee, Keat, Jessica Tan, Cheryl Chan and Tan Kiat Hao, and of course myself, Maliki Osman. We're happy to have you here again and I hope everyone is keeping safe. Whatever we are doing, we must make sure that we must not forget to take all the precautions, even as we are now in phase 2. Our fight against COVID continues and is an important component for us to succeed in our fight, that everyone plays our part, particularly in ensuring safe distancing, ensuring that we stay away from crowds as far as possible, as well as participating in safe entry wherever we are. All right, so it's very important that we continue to do that because we want you to remain safe, all right, and stay safe and healthy. Wow, we have had our first session a couple of days ago. So during the first e-rally, we discussed on the topic of a better home for East Coast, where we focused a lot on ensuring how individuals, like you and I, all of us, can function effectively in our family to create our homes that we have hopes and have shared memories. We discussed a lot. There were a lot of conversations. Many of the residents wrote in and shared their concerns, particularly on the economic outlook, as well as the jobs and concerns over jobs. So we've talked about the economic part of it. So today, it's lunchtime. I hope you are having your lunch. And as you are having your lunch, I hope you have an appetite for something even more exciting as we talk a lot more about what we planned for you, what we have plans, as well as how we can move forward with a topic known as Knowing Our Residents, Knowing Our GRC. Now, why is that important, DPM and colleagues? You know, I'm a social worker by training. I've been a social worker for the last 30 years of my life, and I teach social work also. And the one thing that I've learned and remembered is that for an individual to function well in society, there must be a good fit between him and the environment. You know, and we bring that up to the level of society, then we must ensure that we know the people. As we know the people, then we can look at how the environment fits with the people's needs, aspirations, and all. So, and that's what we have been doing in East Coast. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more about our plans for East Coast. And in that regard, when we talk about our plans, as it's been articulated in our manifesto, residents, you would have received our manifesto for the last couple of days. It's Together We Care at East Coast, and really we do care. And the plans are in here, and effectively it's really about the many years of groundwork that we've been doing, reaching out to our residents, talking to them, understanding their needs, understanding their aspirations, and developing these ideas specifically for them. So really, we want to talk a little bit more. We want to talk a bit more, share with you, but at the same time, know you more, know about more about you too. So we are today on Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live and all our Facebook pages. And we're going to do it slightly differently. Instead of just for you to ask questions of us, we also would like to ask you some questions, our audience out there. What kind of questions? Really, how we can continue to work together after we've shared some of these plans. Now, so I talked about how we connect with you all these years, walk the ground, have chit-chat sessions. Cheryl, myself, and Jessica, and previously Swee and Ishan, we've been really chit-chatting non-stop. With all our residents, you know, I call it In Conversation series, Swee call it chit-chat. So it's really going out and talking to so many residents, and I think it's useful for us to then talk about what is the outcome, really, which is it. So let me just start with DPM, right? DPM, you have joined us, and we're very happy to have you as part of our team and to lead us. You're now with East Coast GRC, and you've been walking the ground for the last 5 days. Maybe you can start off with just saying with us, telling us what has been one moment that has struck you in the last 5 days about East Coast?
Well, thank you, Maliki. I think I've enjoyed walking around East Coast in the last 5 days, meeting many of our residents. Well, actually, many things struck me. And the one, if you wanted me to summarize in one word, it is that we have a very diverse profile of residents in the East Coast. A diverse range of ages, a diverse range of interests, but united by a certain sense of spirit of care and concern for one another, and a pride in the East Coast culture, heritage, and nature. So just to share one little story, I met a resident who spoke to me and said, oh, you know, she was very active. So I said, may I ask, what are you doing? She said, oh, I've been a nurse for 50 years. I said, what? And she said that
Wow.
she's in her 70s. So I said, pioneer generation. She said, yes, it's a pioneer generation. It's a nurse for over 50 years. And of course, she was properly masked up. And that's one of the things which I'm very struck, that our people take our COVID-19 precautions very seriously. So that's excellent. And I hope that let's all stay safe, because that is the #1 priority. Now, I met, meeting so many of our seniors, I think one very important thing that we must do is that we have such a diverse population. We want our seniors to stay active, to stay healthy, to stay active and healthy, both physically, mentally, and socially. And we have to think about how we can do this even better and bring the whole East Coast together. But at the same time, given a diverse profile, I've also met many children and as well as families. So I hope that our families and children can do more together.
Well, indeed, I think, you know, elderly is one key concerns. We've had experiences with elderly, and you talk about active aging, you know. My friend on the right here, she is, I'm very embarrassed every time she tells me that she's been running marathons. Yeah? So just, you know, we've been running marathon. As we move forward, right? How many more marathons are you going to run as we go down the years? But I know you're young still, Maybe talk a little bit about your experience and how you saw our active ages in Changi Sime as well as in East Coast.
Okay, well, Maliki, I first of all have to tell you that I used to run marathons. I still continue to want to train for marathons. So I will talk about the point about staying active, and it's not a point in time. What we must do and is be able to sustain that. So whether you're running a marathon or you're just keeping fit, try not to be a warrior that does it once in a while, but to do it regularly. And the same with our residents in Changi Sime. I must share with you a story. I hope my residents don't get upset with me. But when I first came to Changi Sime, it was quite interesting. Our residents, we had brisk walk. Halfway through, I turned around and I saw everybody taking shortcuts. But now they all walk faster than me and they're all ahead of me. And so it's because they keep it regular. So it's a matter of keeping it up, doing what you can do and doing it regularly. And this is something that in terms of aging or learning or doing anything, I hope that we can continue to have sustained effort. So we do that across our whole GRC, where we have various pockets of activities for our residents to be able to stay active in the kind of activities that matter for them. And I'm very happy to say that we do see a lot of vibrancy because of that.
Wow, excellent. And you're going to keep running?
Yes,
marathon?
I am. I still keep running. I still aspire to do more.
Wonderful. All right. So we are all in the 50s. I'm Merdeka, really Merdeka, because I was born in 1965 when Singapore was independent. So, Cheryl, let me go to you now. You've done a lot of work with our senior population. Minister talk about that. What have you noticed about the seniors in East Coast GRC, and how have our programs been developed to respond to some of the needs of our seniors?
I think the seniors in East Coast GRC have been fortunate that we have a lot of active ages program, in particular what Jess has mentioned, and I encourage them to continue doing that. We've got all these daily exercises for them that's done by the Health Promotion Board. We also know a lot of them love to do their Zumba Go. In fact, that day they were just showing me, before the whole circuit breaker. I think, but apart from that, I met families or even singles who are caregivers for all the seniors where some of them actually unfortunately had dementia. Dementia actually hits us not so much by age, but if it comes, it will be quite difficult because they will deteriorate over time. So one of the programs that I've actually had in Fengshan was actually to work with Salvation Army, and with this program called CREST program, is actually actively reaching out to our seniors to assess their functionality to see if there are potentials of dementia. And with that, we can actually work with the family to see how we can arrest the issue by prolonging that process and keeping them more active in, during this period. And just very recently, I started another program that's called Happy. It's taking part at the Pariburong Park. And what happens I started the first time, I found it really difficult because what it does to your mind is actually it makes the reverse of numberings in order to help you stay active on your mind.
Oh, wow.
Well, I was very impressed with how the seniors actually did
now.
it. So I think these are many things that we can actually work on with our seniors and scale up throughout the entire East Coast.
I think it's a wonderful program. I want to try to bring it to Siglap for sure, and certainly to all our other divisions. I want to just share a little bit about dementia. It's really not easy, DPM, because we've seen a lot of old people. My late father, unfortunately, he was a bit demented when he was in his later years, and then he went for an eye surgery at that time. And what happened was, while he was recovering, he forgot that he had just gone through surgery. And so when he went to his showers, and he had this itchiness in his eye, and he literally rubbed his eye so hard that it bled so terribly, then he literally ended up blinded, So I think there are many things that we need to know more about our seniors in relation to new emerging mental health considerations, because there are a lot more aging in Singapore. DPM, you want to talk a little bit more about the aging population. It's more than just physical aging. It's also look at the mental well-being, and our concept of active aging really is to help them be more connected with the community. What were your thoughts on that, DPM?
Well, so Maliki, you touched on a very important issue,
Yes.
which is that our population is aging rapidly, and what we need to do is to ensure that our seniors are able to age well. And aging well means continue to stay active mentally, physically, and socially. So we must have very good programs across the whole system, across the whole of Singapore, for us to do this even better. And that is where I think we have to look at every aspect of it. How do we stay physically active, mentally active, and socially connected? And in that way, our seniors will have a lot more to contribute. In fact, I met many of our seniors who said, some of them say, oh, I'm very happy looking after my grandchildren, I'm retired. Some of them say, oh, I'm very happy continuing to work. So even our seniors should not be just defined by age, because their interests are very different, and their activities and what you hope to do in the future are also very different. So we must have a whole range of programs to cater to that, and at the same time to promote strong family bonding. Because I think one thing which I'm very happy with is how many of our people I see in our hawker centers, in our shops, really multi-generational family, 3G family, even 4G family, coming together to spend time together.
Yeah, I think it's a new dimension, and we
Yes.
know and people are living longer. Our life expectancy has gone up from 60 to 85. I was telling people that my parents' life expectancy was supposed to be 60, but my dad passed away only when he was 91.
Wow.
And my mom is now 92. So all of us are seeing, and you talk about the multi-generational aspects of our society, and indeed in East Coast we've seen so many of them. We can talk about the generational nature of our society in a while, but I want to go to Keat How now. Being the new kid on the block, not Keat, but new kid on the block. But I know Keat How for some time already, because I knew Keat How when we all started out the Pioneer Generation Ambassador Program, and he started the Pioneer Generation Office. So he's the pioneer of the Pioneer Generation Office. So a young pioneer looking at pioneer. Maybe Keat How, you can share about your own experiences when you were reaching out to pioneers at that time. What were the things that struck you? I'm sure you also visited many of the pioneers in East Coast also, because then it allows you to be more familiar now. Share a little bit more about your experiences with the pioneers.
So Thanks, Dr. Maliki. I knew Dr.
He's still so formal, no, calling me Dr. Maliki, you know.
Well, I always know him as Dr. Maliki because he was my mentor when I was
Alah,
started the pioneer office. I learned a lot from
Telling
him.
your age.
Ouch.
So I had the chance and the privilege to meet many of our pioneers and was at the Pioneer Generation office. One thing I really took away was not just their sense of resilience, but also the ability for seniors to be really learning as they go along. The Chinese saying, 活到老,学到老. And our seniors, even those I met at East Coast when I did my house visits, were really interested in learning a new skill. I think DPM spoke about being socially connected, physically connected, and mentally connected. I'll add one more point of connection, that's being digitally connected, especially during this COVID-19 period. I see many seniors at home who want to continue reaching out to your friends and loved ones during this period. They want to pick up new digital skills so they can do so. And today we have many programs to help our seniors go digital. I'm actually very, very heartened and happy to meet many seniors in East Coast who are starting this journey. And I think they are really finding it quite meaningful and quite fulfilling. So I would like to continue reaching out to them and helping them on their digital journey to be physically connected, socially connected, mentally connected, and also digitally connected.
Well, when you talk about digitally connected, I was very embarrassed. You know, because recently I told them the story. I want to tell the rest of the story also because, you know, when you get older people, senior generation to learn about digitalization, it was only about a year and a half ago, DPM, that I think I needed to move into the digital journey. You know, very embarrassing, you know, because after about a year and a half ago, I was paying all my bills at the SingPost.
Oh dear.
It's so embarrassing because I will carry my whole stack of phone bills, my electricity bills, go to the SingPost counter and then queue out during lunchtime. And everybody looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Pay bill lah." And then I go to the counter look at me and say, "Hey, what are you doing here?" "Pay bill lah." So embarrassing that I needed to continue to. Then I decided to go into digital lah, right? Okay, so we did talk about digitalization and we talked about Cheryl's scaling up the program. I want to also share a bit more about what we are doing in Siglap DPM, and we want to also scale up this service for our seniors, which is actually what we call a silver mobile, which is actually looking at how we can reach out to the vulnerable elderly who may be living in faraway estates, some even private estates. And you know, when you live in a private estate, you're living alone or just with your spouse, it's very difficult for you to come out to the CC for programs, right? Because they can't go out, they can't walk out, and they may not be able to drive. So in Siglap, we started this program, DPM, called the Siglap Silver Mobile, where we have an elderly-friendly vehicle that goes all the way out there, bring them to the CC for programming, and then we send them back on a daily basis. So we hope we can scale that up too, right? So that we can manage that. Cheryl, there's a question for you from one of our viewers, from Cindy Chua, that says, "I have a relative elderly age with early signs of dementia. I'm not sure what kind of support available to me and when my relative's situation deteriorates." Maybe you share a bit on the programs that you have.
Yes, so earlier I mentioned about the CREST program, but also I understand some of the caregivers do have to work and they may not have helpers at home who can actually care for the senior. So the other aspect of it is for us to increase the number of elder care centers that takes care of individuals. So in Fengshan, we've been increasing it from 2. Now we've got the new 3rd one available. I think this is essential because this sort of service would also give a peace of mind to the caregiver who can continue their work, especially for those who is single, you know, and they have to care for their own parents.
In fact,
But-
in fact, Cheryl, one of
Yes.
the points that I would add is that the seniors have actually shared with us when they go to the centers, the family members share with us that they are a lot more engaged
Livelier,
when they go
yes.
home.
Yeah.
They're more engaged and they feel more they feel better, and there's a whole different sense in it. So you know, it's
Yeah,
important
so I
as
think
well.
because there's a spectrum of different individuals with dementia, you know, depending on what kind of support level that they need, one of the important things is for them to get into a routine. So we're going to try and see what other, you know, First of all, to find go-to points within the entire East Coast GRC, because that is one of the very first steps. If you see anyone with potential symptoms, at least you know where to bring them to so that we can help out the families to look for these individuals. And then after that is the care services and how to give them other routine support. This will need also the town infrastructure to make it suitable for them.
Yeah, and you had recently managed to put in a lift in one of
the
your...
lifts at the, that's right. After fighting for quite a while, we managed to get the lifts that's, at least it's signed on paper that say we'll get the lifts for the overhead bridge that's in front of the 85 market. I think this is very true for many seniors, right? In the past, there's no problem walking up a lot of flight of steps, but now it's becoming a problem for many of them in terms of mobility. But the more you don't create this sort of accessibility, the seniors will deter and do not want to come forward and move into the community. So wherever possible, we'll try to look for these opportunities.
Sure. So as we talk about seniors, you know, our residents out there, we all know one of our challenges is really an aging population, which is a result of people living longer, yet at the same time, not many children are being born, right? So we want Singaporeans to have more children. So I'm going to look at Keat now, because being a good friend, I know he just got married recently and got good news. Right, Keat? What's the good news? Hey.
Honestly, a little bit nervous. First time being a father, being a parent. And I'm very grateful for all the residents I met over the last few days. They were offering me very warm tips on how to be a first, to take care of the first child. One tip was that, please sleep a lot now.
That's true.
But I met many young parents as well during my house visits over the last few days. And one thing that they really appreciated is that East Coast is a very mature estate, especially near the Bedok area. And they have intergenerational support. Their parents are here, their relatives are living nearby, and they are looking forward to many new developments in East Coast, especially Horizon is coming up, the Beacon BTO flats are coming up, and many of young parents told me they are benefiting from many schemes, like the proximity housing scheme and priority balloting. So multiple generation of families coming together, strong family support, and I think something that I must also learn from them.
Yeah. So the rejuvenation of our East Coast has been going on for many years. We've got the Bedok Central, and that's where all the new BTOs are coming in, and the Bedok Horizon is in Siglap area. We're going to have the new Siglap CC there to meet the needs of the new young couples. But KL, one advice for you, all right? Childbirth, very important. Our father must be there, because we all know, right? We need to support our women as they continue to have their careers. So father must be there. You see, like, not enough sleep, very true, better sleep now. But you know, my childbirth experience, not my childbirth, my wife's childbirth experience, but I was there next to her. It's very important, because my daughter was born in the US because I was studying at that time. So when my daughter was born, after 24 hours of labor, poor thing, I really pity my wife at that time. So the doctor just gave me a scissors. Then I said, do what? I said, cut what? Cut the umbilical cord. So I'm like, hey, my daughter just born, I cut the wrong place. But I cut correctly, but it was a very, very moving experience, because you really felt it was your flesh and blood there. You know, so Keat Hao, enjoy every moment.
So, all right. Maliki, I would like to share another experience with Keat Hao.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Keat Hao, when my first child was born, I did two things which till today my wife remembers. First is that when the baby cries in the middle of the night for milk, you know, and my wife has to get up and breastfeed her, I also got up because, you know, and then I started to keep myself awake. I said, oh, this is a great party. I went to make some Milo and have some biscuits. And while my wife was feeding the baby, I was feeding myself.
Happy wife, happy family.
The next morning, you know, after a few days, I saw how someone came to help us to bathe the baby. And I know how to bathe my baby.
Wow, that's so nice.
I can teach you the skills.
Thank you. So
I won't charge you for skills future.
Okay, guys,
Well,
I must tell you this.
Okay, so what's your story about?
While you all keep talking about all the tasks to do, one thing, Keat Hao, I will tell you that when you are a first-time parent, when you hold your child in your hand, I cannot forget that moment. It is one of those moments where you feel that it is, wow, it's a responsibility. You are responsible for a life.
It's so
and
true.
that is a moment as a parent, I must tell you that it's quite it is quite a moment that you won't forget.
True,
And so,
true.
Yes,
And
indeed.
other stories would say very interesting. You know, this is something that I learned about how important men's roles are in families. You know, so because we were in the US when my wife was pregnant with our first baby, so we had gone to a place and they saw that my wife was pregnant because she was 6 months pregnant at that time. So this American guy asked, "So how pregnant are you?" So asked my wife. So naturally we say, "Oh, she's 6 months pregnant." And his response to us, "Oh, we are also 6 months pregnant." And this is a guy. I said, "We?" That's so their concept is that the pregnancy belongs to both the men and the women. So that you start off believing that your shared roles as parents starts right down when the pregnancy begins. I think it's a wonderful concept that we should continue to encourage our young families. And we are seeing a lot more of that DPM. I see a
Right.
lot more of young fathers doing very well, carrying babies, and I think it's a good move in the right direction. But I think there's one issue with young couples, and we've gone down the road and talking to many of our residents out there. Many young couples are certainly very concerned about the cost of raising children. Preschool, childcare. You were education minister and the importance of education. Maybe you can share with us, Deepan, your thoughts when you were education minister, how you saw the importance of investing in the young, our children, and helping our young couples.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Maliki, thank you very much. I think, indeed, I think, you know, I spent 5 years in the Ministry of Education and I visited many schools. Many of you remember what I said about every school a good school.
we
After
can't
I
forget.
said that, a lot of friends came and disturbed me and said, "Oh, so every hawker a good hawker, every makan a good makan, you know, and every father a good father." I say, well, let's do that, you know. So let me say that when I was education minister, I visited many countries to learn more about the education system. And our education system has been very, very well ranked. You know, we are always amongst the top in the world. Why is that so? Because I believe that in Singapore, we really have invested a lot in our education. But what is invested, not just money, but really the time and effort and attention that our teachers and our principals and our schools spend, and also our parents and our own students, they have always been very hardworking. So I'm very impressed with our kids and how every one of us, the whole society, takes education seriously. So the favorite phrase in MOE is, it takes a village to raise a child. And indeed, that's the case. So one of the things which I wanted to do a great deal of is to make sure that we have a holistic education. So the Chinese say, 德智体群美. So in our schools, we not only focus on a very strong set of fundamentals, you know, but also on values and on the overall development of a child. So we are one of the very few school systems in the world where our children can learn music, dance, arts, or sports and adventure and uniform group activities, which are all provided free. And by the way, that's why our teachers are so stressed, because they all have extra CCA duties and so on. But our teachers are wonderful, and our parents really take their education, the kids' education, very seriously. And that's how we have made such good progress. Now, in terms of the financial resources to support our students, every child from birth to preschool gets about $50,000 worth of subsidies, from the child development account to the preschool, all the subsidies. And then from primary 1 to the end of secondary school is another $130,000. So the total is about $180,000 for a child up to the age when he finishes secondary school. So this is a very significant investment. And we don't just do it for 1 or 2 schools. It is across all our school system. And after that, when they go, almost all our students now go to higher education. So from ITEs to polys to universities, education is highly subsidized. And now beyond completion of IHL, we now go on to lifelong learning. So every adult has a Skills Future credit, a Skills Future account, as well as a personal learning account. So I hope that every one of us, regardless of age, continues to learn and to take this seriously. And one of the things which I do a great deal of is that I try very hard to link what we learned to what we do. Because I think 学以致用, if you use what you learn, your learning becomes deeper. So that's why we tried new ways of learning, including this work and learn program and so on, a whole variety of learning programs. So let's make the fullest use of all this. And as part of this COVID-19 package, COVID-19 will present a very serious challenge to our economy and to our people. And therefore, I have, as Finance Minister, set aside a budget for creating 100,000 jobs and skills, at the SG United Jobs and Skills package. So some of it are to encourage our employers to hire our workers, some of it for training. So whether it is training on the job or training in our learning centers. So I hope that everyone makes full use of this, and I want to urge all our employers, please train everyone.
Indeed, I think it's important for young couples because if jobs are not stable,
Yes.
and then their worries about raising their children
Yes.
becomes even more amplified. I think that's something that we continue to acknowledge, and we want to help our young couples, especially given our current COVID situation.
Maliki, you touched on a very important point.
Yeah.
Because, somebody asked me the other day when I was walking, he said, Mr. Heng, why don't you put more money in the pocket? Why are you giving money to companies to, is it to save companies? I said, no. The companies that we give the credit to, they are expected to keep the workers on the job. If they fire them, the next tranche, they will not get it because we base on a certain cutoff point. And I'm very happy to hear when I walked around that so many of our young people are able to find jobs and so many of our existing workers are working. Because the job support package is to support our workers. And in fact, I just met a gentleman who is an employer himself, and he said, thank you very much for job support. First question I asked him, so you kept your workers? He said, yes, yes. So I said, that's very good. Please do so, because when COVID situation improves, our businesses will come back. But if you now fire your workers, the situation will be worse.
Sure,
Yeah?
sure. Okay, Cheryl, I want to bring you in now.
Yes.
Fengshan has lots of young children, because I know there's a lot of PCF centers there, and in your engagement with young couples and even your peers, apart from the sentiments that we've discussed today, what else are they concerned about?
Well, I have to say, since 2 years ago, initially, we have a more mature estate. I didn't have as many young families, although they had intergeneration. But the real one was actually the BTO flats, the Fengshan Greenville that came about in the last 1.5 years. And as the parents, before they moved in, one of the biggest challenge I knew we were going to have was actually about availability of childcare spaces. So we converted all our PCF center to dual service models. And as a result of that, we were able to cope then without having a long wait list. Because I think having this availability of centers to take care of their children is very important for all these parents. But apart from that, I think we have a lot of younger programs now that's suitable for the young families, because I think it's important, and I always hear this around East Coast, right? I think whether it's at your site or Jessica, you always want to provide learning platforms. To me, it's important to provide all avenues that can bring families together. So I started this breakfast series. The main thing is to have family together, eat together, and speak. Not for them to look at the phone or play a gadget.
Yeah, but a bit tough, I can tell you that.
Oh, but they've done it. They've done it. Trust me, they are able to do it. And I think this is the time when I think a lot, the younger families, I begin to see that even the father takes more responsibility towards this parenthood.
Yep.
And it's very encouraging. I will continue to encourage that to happen so that...
You should look that side, hint to her. How?
Well, I haven't quite have a child, so don't know whether I have the quality to tell him, but yeah.
Hint, okay. Kel, you mentioned earlier about the BTO developments. So in Kampong Chashi, how many do you have that's coming out? They're going to receive a lot more young couples?
We have Bedok North Woods, which is already up. We should be moving in soon.
Okay.
Beacon will be coming up soon, later, at the end of the year and earlier next year.
So you can expect a lot more young
Absolutely,
couples.
absolutely.
Be ready to provide more childcare centers.
Absolutely, and I think what Cheryl said about dual service is important.
Yes.
Having both elder care facilities near childcare facilities.
Yes,
So that
yes.
young parents who are working has peace of mind when they go to work, and that's important.
Absolutely, and I'm going to have a Bedok Horizon, which is also a 700-unit BTO flat with intergenerational living. right, as well as elder care facilities, childcare facilities over in the Siglap area, Bedok South area. But talking about Bedok South, DPM, I think people are quite excited about the new developments in Bayshore. That will also bring in another set of new residents in our area, provide opportunities for the young couples to come in again. Maybe you can share a little bit more about the Bayshore plans for the Bayshore development.
Well, thanks, Maliki. Indeed, I'm very happy to learn about the new Bayshore development. So it is going to bring in 10,000 new homes, a mix of public and private housing. So 10,000, that should accommodate lots of people. But what is excellent about it is that the planning is done together with the Thomson East Coast Line as well as all the neighboring facilities. So the good news is that they were going to be served by 2 new Thomson East Coast Line in the East Coast, Bedok South and Bayshore Station.
Yes.
This should be completed by 2024.
That's right.
And then walking and cycling will be prioritized. So to promote active living, and there will be a whole range of convenient facilities, community spaces, fun options, and so on. And the East Coast Park is nearby. So it's a very exciting place.
Yes.
And that as we complete the Thomson East Coast Line, so the timing of this is to be timed together with the rest. So for those of you with young children, well, by 2024, we're beginning to develop this, and you will come online in the years ahead.
Yes.
So do plan ahead. I'm so happy that when I go around, I see so many families coming together, multi-generational family, and we must promote this. Many of them want to live near their parents, and that is excellent because when the children are young, parents can help to look after, and when we can also then take care of our parents when they grow older. So I'm always very happy when I see a family coming together, multi-generation, eating together, shopping together, and at the same time observing very good safe distancing at this moment.
Excellent. Yes, true enough, DPM. I think we look forward to having the Bayshore development up, more young couples living with their elderly parents nearby. If 20,000, let's say 8,000 are young couples, and each young couple can produce 2 children, we have 16,000. I'm looking at how East Coast can be part of the GRC that contributes to population increase for our own Singaporeans, you know.
Yes.
So there's a question by Chong Cheng, which is quite interesting. Is what is the plan of the East Coast team to foster greater neighborliness and community spirit in East Coast? They saw that we are more on infrastructure. I'm going to tell you, Chong Cheng, in East Coast we believe in Yuan Jing, Puru Jingling. Which means the near neighbor is closer to the distant relative, so to speak. And it's all in our manifesto, right? How the neighbors have come together, and we talk a little bit more about our many different green initiatives that connect with the neighbors. So, Chong Cheng, absolutely right, but we'll invite you to join us and to see more what we can do to build this community spirit where neighbors become very critical in the lives of families too. So we've been talking a lot about families.
So Maliki, can I share one story about neighborliness?
Yes, please. Yeah.
So I once met a family who said exactly what you just said about Yuan Qing Puru Jingling. This is a young couple. And one day, young couple got a phone call from their parents because one of the parents was having some difficulty and it was an emergency. But it was 11 o'clock at night and their 2 kids were sleeping. So what they did was they knocked at their neighbor's door, handed the key to the neighbors and said, "Can you please help me look out for my kids?" While my wife and I rushed to see our parents.
Oh, wow.
So they drove off, and the neighbors were so nice that they not only just took the key, they went in and made sure that the kids were okay, and they stayed and waited for them until 2, 3 a.m. when they came back.
Yes.
And they said, I felt so assured that my neighbors were looking after my kid when I went to look after my parents.
Yes.
And that's the reason why after hearing this story, I said, well, so you should live near your parents.
Yes.
They said, yes, we should. And therefore, I'm happy to hear also all these new developments, including Bayshore as well as our flats. I think we should encourage our families to live closer
together. And the government has provided.
And to have good neighbors like this, where you look after one another. Among our seniors, we have now nationwide program on Community Network for Seniors, where we encourage our seniors to come together. They chit-chat together, they eat together, they grow vegetables together. So those are very meaningful things for our seniors.
Indeed. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about seniors, families, and what we notice in our ground engagement is indeed East Coast is diverse, but what is unique about East Coast, we are seeing this intergenerational living, and we're encouraging that, you know, that the young couples feel supported by their parents, the parents are supported by the community network for seniors. So we've got the social infrastructure very much in place in East Coast GRC. We are continuing to do more to connect with them because the profiles change, the needs change, circumstances change. But let me just move on to the younger audience out there, because younger audience are very interested in environment. Not that the older ones are not, I think we are. But the passion has been driven a lot by the younger generation, and there's much that been talked about. And this whole, for me, when you talk about green, right, in Siglap, and of course in East Coast, you must talk about the scenic and rustic Changi village. So everybody must go there one day. We'll talk about that more. But what do we mean by green? Right? Lots of people talk about green, right? So I'm going to ask each one of you, because green is more than just planting more trees, right? There must be more to green efforts. And I think in our plans, in our manifesto, there's lots about green efforts moving forward. I'm going to start with each one of our friends here, our colleagues. What do you mean by green? Jess, you.
Well, there's many aspects, as Maliki said, with regards to green. But one of the key areas that I believe when we talk about green is also about sustainability. And in one of the areas of sustainability which we pay a lot of attention to in East Coast GRC is that of reducing the consumption of energy and conserving it. And this is something that we pay a lot of attention to. And in the last 5 years, just to share with all of you, we've taken our energy consumption down for the town council by 30%. Since 2015, we've been driving very specific programs about the way we light up our estate, how we, the kind of practices that we have, and we're very conscious about how do we drive down the consumption or reduce the consumption in a way that still allows us to provide the services that's required, but then be able to do it in a sustainable fashion for the long term.
Well done. Next, Keat, what is green to you?
Well, for me, green is really about the greenery. As I was doing house visits, what really struck me about the East Coast was really how many community gardens there are. There are 33 community gardens in the whole of East Coast across our 5 divisions. And it's not just a community gardens, but it's a community of gardeners coming together to share gardening tips, coming together as friends. And what's really amazing was that I had a number of residents who came up to me with suggestions. Can we expand the community gardens to do vegetables? They'd like to grow vegetables, of course their interest, but importantly they said those vegetables can be harvested and contributed back to a community for families who are perhaps less fortunate, who requires maybe more vegetables and maybe some income issues,
Sure.
So it's not just community gardens, community of gardeners,
Right.
really bring the whole neighborhood together. So to me, that's green.
Yeah. The point about how can we bring neighborliness together, I think it facilitates a lot of older people, young people coming together and learning about greenery. But now we are looking about using technology for greenery too, for vegetables farming and all. My definition for green, I think, is recycling. We've done quite a bit of recycling, especially e-recycling, because there's a lot of obsolete electrical appliances in our homes, our computers, even our keyboards and all that. So we want to continue to do more of that. And we did that. I mentioned earlier with Panasonic, they donate 1 energy-saving light bulb for every 1 electrical appliance that is being donated or that's being recycled. That's, I think, wonderful. And in East Coast, we want to do more. We also work on reducing food waste. That's, I think, one key thing that we want to work on. So we want to see that in as one aspect of going green. Cheryl, what's your green?
Well, I have to say, for us, it's about active citizenry. I'm very fortunate that actually my residents have given me feedback. So some years back, they said, you tell us to go car light. Is there actually electric vehicles or car sharing that can be done? And so actually in the entire East Coast, we now have 36 charging points for all the Blue SG cars. So those of you who have it like right below your multi-story car park or in the open space car park, please do go and share it and use those vehicles. And there's also others, like for example, in our breakfast series that we have done, initially was a bit of difficulty to get this going because what I asked for is actually the residents to bring down their own cutlery and utensils to do it. So, the very first session I had, I still remember this senior, she came, she said, oh, I only have to bring a spoon, so you should provide the plate for me. And that went on. So after that, of course, then we now went on to doing this, which is bring your own bottles. So a lot of us have this.
Yes, yes.
And we no longer, provide the plastic bottled waters.
Of
I think
course,
there's less
yeah.
wastage, but also, reduce the amount of plastics.
Absolutely. Even in our events now, DPM, we have this big, the water bottle where we put a tap nozzle. So they bring their own bottle and they just refill it.
Yes.
So rather than giving single-use plastic bottles,
Yep.
right? Now DPM, what is green to you?
Well, as students, we always do multiple choice question, right?
And the rest of it.
The last one is all of the above. So my answer is all of the above and more.
And more,
All right,
okay.
let me
Let's hear
explain.
the more from you.
So first, I think we must take really climate change very seriously because we are a little island and rising sea level will threaten our very existence. It will not happen in 1 or 2 months or 1 or 2 years, but over many years, the rising sea level will threaten us. So we have committed internationally to the International Climate Change Action Plan to cut our emissions. So we must continue to be very serious about doing this. Now, then, the one aspect of it is about the 3 R's: reduce, recycle, and reuse.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to hear about all the efforts to reduce, in particular, food waste.
Yes.
And it's very important for us to reduce food waste because so much food is wasted. And one of the things which we tried when I was in Tampines is that we actually installed a composter. So they turn food waste into compost. So that becomes good fertilizer and we give it to residents for them. Our residents love greenery. So we have a rooftop garden where they use it to grow vegetables, grow plants and vegetables. And we have many community gardens. So Keat House spoke about community gardens. And I'm very happy to hear about community gardens. I hope that beyond community gardens, we can do vegetable gardens and grow edibles of all kinds. And combine that with senior activities. I once met a group of seniors. They were very happy to show me first the garden that they had. Then the next thing was that they showed the garden, the vegetables they began to grow. And after growing the vegetable, the third thing they do now is we myself just cook. So from farm to the table at the HDB void deck, the little patch of field in front of them, they grew vegetables and then they cook vegetables. So that's wonderful. And then of course the other aspect of it is nature. I think in our whole East Coast GRC is a very big area, all the way to Pulau Ubin even, right?
Yes.
And of course, it'll be lovely that we keep our beaches clean, we keep our, grow more trees, and have community gardens, more fruits and vegetable garden. And I saw many of our, even along the corridor, neighbors cooperating, each one of them having a few potted plants outside, done up very safely, and the whole corridor becomes a nice little green corridor. So I see many of our residents are very keen to do this. Let's do more of that together.
Yes. I just saw a comment on by Madam Jamila, who says should organize more workshops to teach public on upcycling. How a place where we can find a place where we can easily retrieve things that can be recycled. I think it's a wonderful example of how we can encourage upcycling. So, Madam Jamila akan datang with a while. Next session, we'll discuss more about all these things that you can get involved in.
And we should also do a lot of e-waste recycling.
Absolutely, yes, e-waste.
Recycling of all kinds.
Of all kinds.
Yeah.
We have about another 10 minutes. Exciting plans, I think, for those of you who missed out some parts of our discussion, go back to our manifesto. As we go out and meet up with you in the next couple of days, we will be very happy to give you some of the details. But last segment, I want to just talk a little bit about welcoming DPM Heng and Keat between Cheryl, me, and Jess. All right, because we've been here for longest 15 years, right?
Stop talking about
Cheryl as a resident and as a MP, I've been here for the last 10 years, right? So if we were to say DPM and Keat, as you move in East Coast, what is the one place you say they must go to in your mind? Jess, yeah.
Well, I would say, well, it's difficult to just say one place across the whole of East Coast, but I'm going to be a little bit biased and talk about Changi Simei.
Okay lah, let you be biased lah, go lah.
But again, in Changi Simei, it's not one place. It's more, rather than a place, and I think someone, Chong Chen just now brought up, it's not about the infrastructure. It's about our people and how our people bring that whole environment of Changi Simei into Changi Simei. So, when you walk around Changi Simei, you will find different spots and corners where there are activities, and it comes to life from the greenery, from our community gardens, our activity areas, to our connecting from the private to the public areas, and it's quite seamless. In some sense, it's good, and other sense, sometimes a little bit of these amenities here and there because people are all using the same facilities. But the good thing is that there is a very nice community and kampong spirit in Changi Simei. So I would say you've got to come and feel that entire experience and environment.
Okay, excited?
Yes.
Now, Cheryl. One, if you need more, okay, I'll let you because I do wonderful things in Bhutan. Okay.
I have to say, East Coast started for me was when I was much younger. It's about East Coast Park and chalets.
Wow.
When I grew older, of course, there's one thing that's very important about East Coast to me. It's my home. I actually lived in Fengshan for 12 years. That's how I went on to volunteer in the community. And now that place is really home to me. I'm practically there most parts of the week, right? But I think the important thing is actually about the memories and the bonds that you build in a particular area. Just within Fengshan itself, I think there is always, my favorite Fengshan Community Club. We are upgrading it now. Hopefully we can all go back to the new place next year. And after that, you move to the different parks that we have within the private estate area. We've upgraded all the 4 parks. And my memory of that place is I run there every day in the past. So I know the entire terrain so well, and that's why it's very close to heart for me.